Evan actually asked me for a prenup before we got married, and I told him I'm not doing that because I would never take anything from you.
I mean, this woman's logic is a little difficult to follow. The reason I refused to sign this document stating that I would never take anything from you is because I would never take anything from you. Then why not sign it? I mean, I really wonder, does that make sense to women? Does that sound logical? Let's hear from a man.
You're gonna marry a girl, okay? And you love her so much. Would you make her sign a prenup with the abundance of money you do have?
Yeah, of course.
You would make her sign a prenup?
Yeah, why not? Because if she was like, she's not comfortable with that, then it's like,
But she might get offended by that.
well, if she's offended by that, then she's not the one, right?
Okay.
I mean, it's like, is that then she's offended by it? Is she like, is that why she's there then?
Your money? What if she also made a lot of money? Like, maybe more than what you make?
Well, the laws, specifically in California, are really not in favor of men, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like a woman you could break up, they could take like half your shit, and she could do it and be like, peace.
Okay. So you would make her sign a prenup?
Yeah, of course.
I like this guy. He's speaking some common sense. And he's adhering to a policy that every man should have with regards to women. Never show mercy to a woman unless you have the power. Because if you don't have the power, any gesture of goodwill that you offer will not be interpreted by women as an act of generosity. It will be interpreted as an act of weakness. And as we know, women can be ruthless when it comes to exploiting a man's weakness. When it comes to marriage and prenups, I'm not saying that a man has no financial obligation to his ex-wife. If she gave up her career to raise children, then you do have an obligation to her. But it's really important that your premarital assets are protected by law. You need to have the power in that situation. It's going to make a huge difference in how your actions after the divorce are perceived. If you decide to be additionally generous beyond what you're legally required to be, then your actions will be perceived in a positive light. But if you have no power, no protection, then in the divorce settlement, she sees how weak and vulnerable your position is, and she starts grabbing as much stuff as she can legally get away with. You've got to protect yourself. You've got to retain the power. The alternative is disastrous.
So how much did my divorce cost me? Well, this is a fantastic question. There's direct and there's indirect costs. Direct costs, I lost $106,000 out of my 401k retirement plan I spent 20 years contributing to. I also lost half the equity in the home, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, cash, and savings that I also spent 20 years contributing to. I also lost half of all the non-liquid assets like furniture, household goods, electronics, cars. Keep in mind, I paid for all of these. And this is in addition to financially supporting her and her/our daughter for 17 years, which is many hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm now broke, live in a 2-bedroom apartment, and have a negative net worth for the first time since I was, 25. Indirect costs: my job, my sobriety, my self-worth, my masculinity, my hope for the future, my ability to trust women again, my belief in God, my pride, my motivation, my physical health. Let's just say everything.
In this video, I'm going to explain to you that in your relationships with women, generosity is not a virtue, at least not inherently. A woman can view the same action that you take either as an act of generosity to be appreciated or as an act of weakness to be exploited, and how she views it is entirely dependent on whether or not you have the power in that situation. Let me tell you a story. A good friend of mine found himself in an abusive relationship with a woman, and her treatment of him was particularly awful because of how generous he'd been. She had lived in his house rent-free for the last 2 years of their relationship. He worked full-time and was subsidizing her life. Finally, he gained the courage that he needed to leave her, to end the relationship. But because he was such a nice guy, he felt bad about kicking her out of his house. He recognized that it might take her some time to find a new place. So, as an act of generosity coming from his niceness, he decided to temporarily move into his parents' house for a couple of weeks while she found a new place. Did she interpret this gesture as an act of generosity to be appreciated or as an act of weakness to be exploited? You better believe that she saw weakness and opportunity. As soon as he was gone, she called a locksmith and changed all of the locks. He couldn't even go and get his stuff. They ended up having to go to court where he agreed, just to simplify things, to pay her thousands of dollars to leave his house. If he had kicked her out at the outset, which he was legally entitled to do, then he would have retained the power. Then any mercy that he showed her would have been seen correctly for what it was, an act of generosity. Gentlemen, you have to protect yourself. You have to know what is your bottom line. You need to know that you are covered in the worst case scenario. That has to come first. You can't go around being generous until you've got yourself protected. I know that you have deeply ingrained masculine instincts that are telling you that it's your job to protect women, to look out for them, to be generous. You are hardwired to be merciful. But I'm telling you, unless you're protected, unless you have the power, what you think of as generosity will be seen by many women as weakness, and then they will exploit it. You need to understand that generosity only flows down. You don't find poor people being generous by giving money to the wealthy. You don't find frail old ladies helping young fit men across the street. Only the powerful can be generous. And that's why, unless a man has some power in his relationship with a woman, he can't really be generous to her. Anything that he does thinking is generosity is just seen by her as weakness. Now I'm going to explain how this relates to situations like breaking up and infidelity. But first, as a quick aside, the platform that I've been using to create personalized videos for people has shut down. Hey Hero is no more. They did give me some warnings, so I've got my own personal website. So if you want to ask my advice, tell me your story, ask me some questions, you want a personalized video from me, you can do that through my new website. I've also started doing live consultations again. I stopped them back when my daughter was born. But yeah, if you want to have a Zoom chat with me, 1 hour private consultation, you can do so at the same website. If you want ongoing help, you're best served by joining on one of my hero circles. These are the online men's groups that I run. There's more info below. And also a reminder to any women out there that Emily is running a women's hero circle. So if there's any men out there who think that their girlfriend would benefit from being part of a group like this, send them the link. Anyway, back to the video and talking about how to retain the power in the instance of a breakup, like if somebody has been caught cheating.
Girlfriend gets caught cheating on boyfriend.
This what you doing while I'm at work? This what's going on while I'm at work?
What are you doing?
This is what's going on?
What are
What's
you
going
doing?
Bro, who are you, bro? Who is this?
Hang up the phone.
Bro, who is it? Bro, now what are you doing now, bro? What are you doing with this shit? Now bro, who is this?
Dude,
I'm paying the phone bill. This what you doing?
I don't care.
Now, you would think in a situation like this that this man is going to go scorched earth. He's going to dump her. He's going to tell everybody that she's a liar, that she's a cheater. But you know what's bizarre is I have done so many private consultations with men being put in this situation and they don't do that. The instinct of mercy rears its head and cripples him from doing what he has to do. There's still some instinct inside him that tells him that no matter how badly she has hurt him, it's still his job as the man to protect her. He wants to be kind. He wants to be generous. He wants to be the good guy. And so he doesn't tell anybody why they broke up. He doesn't tell their mutual friends or her family. Now you might think, wow, unbelievable generosity. He didn't out her for her cheating. That's such a nice thing. She must be so full of appreciation. Nope. I've seen this story a few different times. Instead of showing gratitude for his silence, she sees weakness. She thinks, he's not sharing his side of the story. Great, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to share my side. I'm going to make up a whole bunch of things. And then weeks later, he discovers that she's been going around telling their families, telling their friends that he was abusive, that he cheated. And he thinks, what the fuck? I was protecting you. This is how you repay my kindness? Yeah, brother, because she didn't see it as kindness. She just saw weakness and was like, yes, I can exploit this. By not speaking, he gave up his power, and you should never do that. I've even done private consultations with guys who have discovered that their wife is cheating, which leads to a divorce, but the husband, out of some misguided sense of honor, doesn't tell their children that the reason they're breaking up is because mum was having sex with another man. The rationalizations come in like, oh, I don't want my kids to blame her for the family breaking apart. I want them to have a positive opinion of their mother. I want them to still have a close relationship. Misplaced mercy once again. He literally accepts blame upon himself and lies to his children about what's actually occurred, all out of this misguided sense that it's his duty to be kind and generous to his wife. And salt in the wound, because fast forward a few months later, guess what? She's pushing for full custody. She's poisoning her children against him. This is how she repays his generosity? And yes, I understand. I'm getting worked up. I'm getting emotional. But I mean, how can I not be? What the fuck is going on? I hear these stories and the sheer injustice of it is infuriating. I so badly want to protect men from making this mistake. You want to show mercy? You want to be generous to her? Here's what you do. First, you tell everybody the truth. her parents, your friends, the children. You let the reality be known that you did nothing wrong, that she is a cheater. But because you are a generous person, you are willing to be civil in discussions about co-parenting. You are willing to make a dignified exit without too much drama. You don't want to make things harder for her than they have to be. That is how you be nice. That is how you be generous. You are well within your rights to be way more petty than that. But you need to understand that generosity only flows down. Once it's been established what the reality of the situation is and that morally you are up here and she's down here, then you can be generous because you are protected. Understand that a man who is tough, who's masculine, who has standards, if he does something nice for a woman, then he is perceived as being generous. But a man who is insecure, soft, feminine, if he does something nice for a woman, it's perceived as weak, or even worse, as manipulative.
Essentially, what nice guys do is what they suffer with is not that they're too nice or anything. It's just that they have incredibly weak boundaries when it comes to women. They simply are not just women. It could be anybody. What they do is they lack a lot of masculinity. And what they do is they blame the fact that they're so nice as to why they can't get women. But it's not about being nice. It's about a lack of masculinity. And one of the best ways to establish masculinity is placing boundaries, particularly with women. When you don't like a behavior, you don't roll over and allow it to continue and then give her more in order for you to get her. You set a boundary and you have a willingness to walk away.
So where does forgiveness sit in all of this? Is forgiveness a virtue or is it foolishness? What even is forgiveness? Is it an act of letting go of bitterness inside yourself? Is it putting up boundaries? Is it removing boundaries? Is it something you do for yourself or you do it for them? It's a tricky topic, and I actually have very strong opinions about forgiveness because I don't think it's the virtue that's been cracked up to be. But it's tricky because everybody has a different definition for what they mean by forgiveness. So if this is something you're interested in exploring, like maybe you've had some people who have wronged you in the past and you want to hear me talk more about it, I go into a full exploration of the topic of forgiveness in the extended version of this video, which is available on Patreon. These YouTube videos, these are just shortened, abridged versions of my videos. To access the full-length versions, come over to Patreon.